Good morning, everyone. Welcome to, well, it's not my channel, it's Mum's channel. Corrine is my mum, and I'm Miss Skeeter. I'm just dropped in here to show you my new outfit. It is just gorgeous. I'm so happy. The house is another story, but there's been a disagreement over how we're going to decorate the house, but we'll take you over to the house and show you the two sides. There's that cat again. Two sides to the story. I'm going to get my way, but I really have a vision. I want it to be my house, not Mum's house. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will win. Anyway, this is my new outfit. She's made it out of some linen and some lace, and she's crocheted a little bolero jacket for me. It's just so cute. I love it. Mum will come on in a minute and tell you all about it because I think she plans to make more clothes for me. Well, I hope she does. I can't be living in the one outfit. A girl mouse needs lots of clothes. So that's the latest news, I guess. The house is sort of coming along. We're sort of choosing the decorating items for the walls, and that's where the disagreement lies. I want music, lots of music. I want sewing haberdashery, printed things. I don't know, she's talking about paddle pop sticks. That's so 80s. We can do better than that. She's got these sticks. She's cut the round ends off of these paddle pop sticks. She's got her Inktense pencil thingies out. No, it's not a pencil. It's a die thing, and she's gone over the corners of the paddle pops, and she says, "Oh, they look old. They look distressed." That's what it is. Distressed ink from Tim Holtz. It doesn't look distressed. It looks like a paddle pop stick that Mum has dragged a Tim Holtz spongy thing over to distress it. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. She'll show you, but let me tell you, it ain't going to happen. I want my house to be full of beautiful papers and fabrics, cladding the walls with such inspiration. That's what I want. Anyway, we'll go over to the house and show you two sides to the story, and I know which side's going to win. Anyway, let's go. I'm gonna pass you over to Mum. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hi everyone, it's Corrine here. I'm guessing the Miss Skeeter just spoke to you. Did she mention the disagreement we're having over the materials to be selected for putting on all the walls of the house? Yeah, she's apparently not liking my paddle pop sticks. But anyway, in the meantime, what I want to do is show you her outfit. I've been busy stitching, crocheting a little outfit for her. So we'll start at the beginning. First of all, look at this little basket. How cute is that? Absolutely love it. Now, how this came about is I spotted, backtrack a little bit. When I was looking for furniture for the house, I've decided that I'm not going to make the basics in the way of furniture. So bookcases, benches, a bed and a table. So I've gone around having a bit of a hunt. I've picked up a few things on Marketplace, Facebook, secondhand, and I've also gone to Temu and had a look at their furniture that is 1:12. That's the scale. And I've got coming some tall boys, as in, open cupboards to put things in, a table. I think I got two tables, one for downstairs to put a cash register on, just some basic stuff, and a little modular kitchen. I figure that my forte is fabrics, needlework. It's not going to be timber work making cabinetry and things like that. So I've got a few bits and pieces coming, but they haven't arrived yet. So in the meantime, I've got plenty of time to make young Skeeter here some clothing, and we can work on her house itself, like the walls. So that brought me to sitting down in front of YouTube and looking at different crocheting patterns and things like that. Because while I was on Temu, I saw that they were selling crocheted outfits, crocheted baskets, crocheted hats, all sorts of things. And I thought, well, that's something I can definitely do. So that's where the rabbit hole led me in the last day. There's more things coming, but I'll do them in another video because I've just found so much inspiration on YouTube, especially when you type in miniatures or micro crocheting. You guys can go and check it out because, oh my goodness, it's, yeah, that's a whole group again. What this little basket was, I'll get to her outfit in a moment, but what the little basket was, it was a crocheted hat. So if you turn that up that way, that's the start of the crown of the little hat. And the row where you're starting to turn it out and the brim would stop, that's where I stopped because it's too small for Miss Mouse. Well, it would fit, but she has big ears, so it wasn't going to work for that anyway. But what I decided to do is at the point where the brim stopped, I crocheted 10 crochet stitches up, attached it with a slip stitch, slip stitched 4 little stitches across, did another 10 single crochets to bring me back over to this side, and then did a couple little slip stitches to get back to where I started, and that in turn gave me this little basket. So that's my first, I guess, accessory for Miss Skeeter and her little house is this little basket. So heaps of opportunities to make, you know, bits and pieces like that. The crochet hook that I'm working with is a 1. You could go smaller, but I've started with a 1. I do want to see how the furniture looks because I haven't really in my mind got the scale of a 1 is to 12. I haven't seen them yet. So I'm hoping that that's sort of not too big. I don't think it will be, but time will tell. And if that's the case, I may need to drop down to a 0.4 and go even smaller. Quite possibly. This, to her, this is great. But, you know, at the end of the day, the scale is one thing. It doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. I guess if a mouse was sitting down on the ground like they do, where my crochet hook is her waist, and that would be her little feet, and, you know, like there's no mouse height police out there. So that's my first little activity, crocheting accessories for the mouse chateau. So I'll just pop that over here where it's safe. It's been lost about 6 times. Now, we'll work backwards. The dress and the little top, and now this little bolero jacket. So this is actually a scarf pattern, and that's how the whole thing started. Let me just get this off her little arm. It's a bit of a tight squeeze to get it off, but it's so close to being perfect. Let me show you what I did. So in my mind, I thought I could make a scarf for her. And I remember doing a scarf years ago out of this virus pattern. And I also did blankets out of it. And it's just such a clever pattern. So I went back through YouTube and I found this lady here. Let me just bring her up. This one here, Snuggly. Now, if you type in how to crochet a virus shawl, you will find heaps. That's it there. So that's the distinct pattern. It increases from the bottom up, the whole time creating that triangular shape. So what I did is, once again, using a number 1, I got myself a colour, a pearl cotton, just chose a little apricot-y, pinky sort of tone. And then away I went. So there is the bottom. That's where it starts here. And you start with a chain and then slowly build up this fan. See that fan there? And then once you finish that final row, which is these double crochet here, you then start creating the ladder with crocheted single, what do they call it? Yeah, chain stitch, sorry. With chain stitch, you create the bumps around the whole top of that, and then it starts again. So you create another fan, and these 2 sides is half a fan. So the next stage of this, if I was making a human-sized shawl, would be creating this lattice work, which then the fans build on again. So it'd make more sense when you go and do the pattern. If you are a crocheter, this is, you know, a lovely little pattern to easily make a shawl for your mouse, like so. So you could put a little pearl to hold it on her. It's a fantastic little pattern for what we're doing. But then it dawned on me, see that hole there? If that's not an armhole, it fits perfectly. So if you're wanting to make a little bolero jacket, size 1 crochet hook and some pearl cotton and the virus pattern. So I'm loving that. I just think it's great. Inadvertently, I've made myself a little cardigan for her. Okay, so that's the other little crocheting thing I've been working on. I have been making some other bits and pieces, but we'll cover them in another video. I'm still playing with patterns and things like that. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I wanted to go through the outfit that I made for Miss Skeeter. So once again, working from the top back, this is a piece of lace that had a scalloped edge to it. So this is a scrap that I found in my cut-off bits, and I tried to use it, but see over where my thumb is here, that was missing. So I grabbed the original blouse, which had this little scalloped edge on it, and recut myself a piece that was 2 scallops, the center, and then I cut it, and that came around to the back. I left the little flower at the top, so it became like a blouse, and then just bordered around the back, securing the flower as the joining point. I removed 1 flower. Like, this was so close, so close. So that flower got cut off. It tucked in underneath that, and then that flower there became her chest, and I just trimmed the tulle back a little bit. But see how that was missing? It was so close, but that's okay. I can see that being used in the future. So that was applied to the little dress. Now the little dress, let's go to that now. Now we're back right to the very beginning. The little dress was made out of this piece of linen. Now this skirt inadvertently was a gift that taught me a lot of things. This skirt's made on the bias. Now the bias is the most stretchiest part of the fabric. To find the bias, if you've got a piece of fabric in front of you, you'd fold it over and it'd be the point of which you get the most stretch out of it. So the manufacturer of this skirt has actually cut the whole piece on the bias. So if this was on your body, it would flute out at the bottom naturally, because they've got the I guess the sloppiest part of the fabric down low, and there's a lot of movement. So when I cut my little mouse dress out, I inadvertently got the bias as part of the package. Let me just come up a little bit. So I cut a rectangle out, which gave me this bias wrapping around her body. And then all I did was gather it in. But first of all, I did a seam down the side here, just a hand sewn running stitch. Well, it's not really a running stitch. I sort of went back on myself all the time to make sure I didn't have any gaps. So I just hand sewed that side seam, turned it out flat, gave it a bit of a press. You can iron it, of course. And then I turned over the bottom to create a hem, and I didn't turn the top because it's linen and really soft. I didn't want a lot of bulk in here, so I just gathered it. And I knew I'd be doing something with the little, like an apron or, you know, something over the top. So I didn't put the bulk up around her waist. I just gathered it. So I just eased it up onto her body. That gathering stitch pulled it nice and taut, and I was pretty happy with the way it came to be, because there's a lot of movement there and it sort of flutes out. So I'd highly recommend any clothes you make, get the bit of a bias thing happening. Now you could gather it and make a gathered skirt. That's not a problem. What I would say is make sure you pick a very fine fabric, because it will create a lot of bulk in around her waistline. And this didn't, like that's barely gathered. So I was really happy with that. So the bias, there's a hot tip for you. Now, underneath, we'll pull out her little skirt. The mouse body's really good to fit clothes to, because you have a little tummy on your mice. You would have noticed if you've made one, and then it gets quite narrow up in here. So what that allows you to do is get it up with a bit of a squeeze. You sort of just pull her in, bring your clothing up, and then you can cinch it in and it fits beautifully and won't fall off. But if you were to squeeze the tummy, you can still get it off, which is very clever in its design, if that makes sense. So after I made I'll come back to this little guy. Actually, no, I'll show you. This little skirt is not cut on the bias. It is literally a tube of fabric. Now on this little blouse, there's this little polka dot section. It's at the top. And see how there's a little binding on it? So what I did is, using the binding as a finished edge, why not? Let's not reinvent the wheel. I just cut a little rectangle. Because the binding's on there and it's a little bit bulky, I didn't want to gather it. So I just left it as just a little tube. At the end of the day, it's a petticoat. I remember wearing petticoats as a young girl, and they were slips, just a slip of tubular fabric. They weren't gathered. You could create your own with a little bit more bulk, so you have that more of a tutu feel to your outfit. But I thought for now that's enough. And once again, I just did a stitch to create the seam and kept it as small as I could. If anything, I did an overstitch, I think. Did I? Yeah, I did. I did a little overstitch there. The bottom doesn't fray, so why put the bulk in there? And then the binding made a lovely little waistband. So just something to consider when you're looking for textiles, to make into clothing for your mice. It's come up beautifully, and it can be easily added to her little body, especially with a little squeeze. Tail in first, feet. Works a treat. Oh, it's so much fun, I tell you. My goodness, the things we are doing. It's pretty funny to watch you guys all explore your little mouse house opportunities. There's lots of little mice popping up, mouse houses. I'll start linking below other YouTube channels that are also making it, because there's a few now. Everyone's got a different take on it, and it's just, it's so fun. So there we go. So my little skirt, the linen one, wasn't attached to the mouse, but became attached when I did these over-the-shoulder straps. See those little straps in there? When they were put into position, I found that my needle inadvertently went into the mouse. So this little linen dress is attached to her with a couple stitches, but I'm not too worried, because I'm not going to be changing her clothes all the time. But I will have more clothes for her, maybe hanging in a robe, or I don't know, hanging on a clothesline. Not sure, haven't got to that stage yet. When I did the straps, I think there was a little scrappy bit of that fabric left here, actually here. This was the trimming that came off the bottom of her little skirt. That was cut off of there. So this became my over-the-shoulder straps to attach the little skirt, well, make it look like it's not just a skirt, it's a pinafore, so to speak. And all I did with that is turn the raw edges into the center and just finger pressed it second raw edge in, like so, and then folded it one more time. It's fiddly, but that hidden seam then is created, and I just slip stitched along that. So let me just show you again. Can you see that on the camera? I might just zoom in for a brief moment. Okay, so folded raw edge in, folded raw edge in, and then folded it again to create this little strap. And then with needle and thread, I just secured that side. So let's pretend that that's happened. The skirt is on the mouse. I think I made it like 2 inches, a little bit longer. I then popped it over her shoulder. It's going to come apart, but I think you guys will get the gist of it. Her skirt's already on her body. It's gathered, it's secured. This raw edge, I tucked in under the skirt and just put a couple little stitches, and I did the same at the back, a couple little stitches, and then did it again. The straps are just sitting there. Don't sweat the detail about it not touching her fur, not being completely fitted. Like, you know, I'm not going to get to that detail. I think it's pretty good. So she has now these 2 little straps connected to the linen skirt, and then that's when I started playing with the lace to get the over the shoulder you know, outfit. And of course then came along the scarf, which inadvertently has turned into a bolero jacket due to the positions of those holes. I thought, how perfect is that? You do need to ease it on like it just fits, and then bring it back up. So there you go. So that's Miss Skeeter's first outfit. And then the little crocheted hat that turned into a little basket with 10 little chain stitches to hold it across her wrist. There we go. Oh, I tell you, hours of fun. It's like a whole evening of mucking around. What I want to do now is I want to make another little dress for her, or a skirt. I'm not sure yet how we'll go and what we'll make, but I went looking for some embroidery because I'd love to have on her a little, you know, embroidered piece. Let me zoom up. I think I'm about to sneeze. I'll be back in a minute, guys. Okay, I'm back. Alrighty. So what I want to do is make another skirt for her. I'm not sure, you know, how this will all go, but let's give it a go. I'd love this embroidery here to be across the front of her skirt. Now I just grab my little tape measure here. I think from memory, so the first one I did, I just cut it freeform and went with it. But for the purposes of you guys, I thought I better just measure about 4 inches, and that's, you know, that's rough, is the waistline of her. So if we went a fraction bigger than 4 inches, and then it's gathered in with side seams, you know, I'm going to aim for about 6. We can always trim it back. Let me position the camera a little bit better. Her body height, like, she's only little. We might try and get the seam to be there. Oh my goodness. Had a coughing attack. I'm going to fold it. And to get the bias, we're going to scoop around like so. That'll get a little bit of that fluting happening. If we were to go straight across, and then straight across here and gather it in, you'd have an awful lot of fabric. It wouldn't flute as easily. You'd have to have a lot of fabric to get enough bulk to flare it out. So by cutting it on this sort of angle, I sort of feel like we're getting that bias thing happening. So let's have a look at her waist height. There's a seam to fold under for the hem. So I'm lowering her dress a little bit further. So that'll all be, you know, tucked in under for the seam allowance. We'll come up under her arms, which is about there. We won't worry about a seam allowance, but what I'll do is I'll cut a little higher. So if I do need to, it's at least there. What did we say? She had a waist of about 4 inches. So that would be 2 inches finished, but let's give her a little bit extra because, you know, we're going to trim it. So that's about there. Her skirt height at the moment is 2.5. So let's get that line that I drew a little bit further out. Like, none of this has to be exact, guys. Just have a play. At the end of the day, we're using scraps of fabric. So I'm going to aim for, you know, roughly there. I'd rather it be a bit bigger and we trim it than it not fit. But, you know, doesn't matter. Not really. This is a mass-made doily. And I'm hoping I can position this ever so. I might scoop that up a little bit more because, you know, we want it to be roughly right. Oh, I think my grandmother would be having conniptions that I was freehanding as much as I am. She would make a pattern. She would draft a pattern being a dressmaker. Not me. That would just be too logical. There we go. So there's a good shape. And see how it's going to give us that natural flared bottom without it being too bulky. Pretty happy with that. Where's Mouse? Let's have a fitting. Yeah. We can fiddle with it and trim it. I think that's going to be pretty good. Now let's just have a look at this side seam because we've got a little extra here. But I'm okay with that. If that gathers in, put the basket away before I lose it. Yeah, I'm going to go with that, guys. I won't do this seam yet. Right sides together. Needle and thread, and we'll do a little running stitch. I could guarantee that if I hadn't picked up that linen skirt cut on the bias, I probably would have taken me a bit to twig that I could use less fabric in the bottoms of my skirts, right sides together, and achieve, you know, a nice little skirt line instead of having a real gathered tutu looking. So now I'm just going to stitch that seam together. I'll reinforce that edge with a couple stitches. I'm about 1/4 inch away from the edge, doing a bit of a running stitch, but when I come back up, go back down, I'm just past, for those newbies, I'm just past the stitch so that it's a really nice tight seam when you do that. Takes a little longer. So it's a back stitch, but it's not a split back stitch where you split the hole, the thread. I'm just going, can you see that? Probably not. I think you guys know what you're doing. Got a friend coming to visit today from Brisbane. We haven't seen him for a little while. He was very much part of our world when we set up our Christmas shop. He was a customer who does visual merchandising. And he was sort of creating his business about the time we started our business, and he was buying bits and pieces to install Christmas into shopping centres and customers' houses. So we became friends and would recommend his business. Say someone wanted a Christmas tree and some bits and pieces put into a chemist, or, we would give them his business card. So his business grew with us, and it sort of took the pressure off having to install Christmas on our business, which is not our thing. We were retailing of the ingredients for Christmas, not actually going on site and putting them in. So it was great. And over the years, we got to know quite a few of them, and in the end, we were able to give them the right person for the right job, because there were some really big installers and then some smaller ones again, and our mate Dave just fit in the middle and could do a little bit of everything. And after Christmas, he would do Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Easter. He inadvertently got, a whole year's worth of work just by being in the circle. So, long story short, many, many years later, we've become friends, and it turns out that his family, or he grew up in Hervey Bay. So this weekend he's up for a visit, and he sent us a message and said, "Oh, guys, I'll pop out and say good day." So, we're having morning tea, catch up, and then he's off to a family function this afternoon. So, that's going to be our day. So when Dave toddles off, I'll be able to continue working on my French chateau mouse house. And this afternoon, I really want to get into starting to apply some of the textures and papers to the actual house. So that's my plan. Okay, so I'm now at the top. At this stage, we want a hem, and because our design is down the bottom there, I can't really trim excess off. It has to come from the top. So let's just forget about her waistline at the moment. Let's press that little seam open. So for some reason in my head, the word gored skirt comes to mind, but I don't think that's what this is called. I think a gored skirt from memory didn't we cut a pleat in like so, and then put in a piece of fabric, and that would open up a rectangular piece of fabric to have more body and shape. I can't get that to spread. We could have a go at making one of those. I remember doing it as a kid. I'd have a skirt, and then I could pick a fabric that would go inside that pleat. See, I've drawn it there. So let's pretend it's just a rectangle now. We'd cut that out and insert a piece of fabric. So a straight rectangle would suddenly get this little fluted bit, and you could put an inserted piece in there. So if you, I guess, weren't confident about cutting a bit of a shape into your skirt, you could try a rectangle and then maybe put 3, or how did we do it in the day? Probably 1 here, 1 there, and that then would put in an insert. That'd be so pretty with lace. Oh, we'll have to make I'm sure they were called gored skirts. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a big dart, but it's an open dart. Anyway, there's my little skirt. I think that gathered in effect is going to be very minimal, which is great because we've got plenty of body in the skirt itself. And once we get this little hemline stitched, we can then trim the top back to suit the body. But we've got plenty of excess, which is what we want. All right, let's start around here. Right sides together, turning our little skirt. And we just want to be mindful of that design. Yep. So once again, about 1/4 inch. Being this is a cotton little fabric, it's going to hold my turn. Now the other thing is, this is going to be a challenge to stitch without the line of stitching coming through the other side. So if you weren't confident in hemming, we could glue that. I might do that because this is so thin. I wonder if it'd hold okay. It should, shouldn't it? I guess if you were making this with kids, they'd have to consider options like that for them, because all the kiddies can't do a blind hem. Not without that's showing. I might start it, see what it looks like, and if I can't catch the tiniest of threads to hold my hem stitch, I might have to do that, because it's a really high thread count. It was easy with the linen because it's woven and I could catch the tiniest of little threads and hem it down, and you can't see it. This is going to be a bit tricky. Look at that side seam. How impressive is that? Toot my own horn there. All right, let's see how we go. There is iron-on product. It's like a hem, you can hem tape. Is that what it's called? Where you can slide it between your turned up side of your fabric and just, your bottom of your pants, and you iron it and it just sticks it in. That might be an option, but I think a knot would help. I think what I'll do is just use a glue stick and just put a little bit of glue there. But let's have a go. I can certainly hem there because I've got, the seam to go through. I need to change my needle to a smaller, finer needle. This is a bit of a crowbar, but I don't even think I can pull that off. Look, it's no, I'm not going to do it. What it will do is show through to the other side. So I'm just going to jump up and grab my glue stick and a board to protect this. Okay, glue stick. Oh, goodness, my chair is sunk down. I've got to swap this chair. I'm getting lower and lower. So what I'm going to do, we don't need a lot. We're just going to whip around that edge and just get enough to tack it up. It's not like she's out riding bicycles and her skirt's flapping in the breeze and hems are going to be coming down. I guess too, if you've got the grandkids helping, this is not a bad solution for little ones. Okay, and then we'll just, just whip around there and press that down. Folding that seam out. There you go, there's a bit of a cheat. So any future skirts I make or trousers and things like that, I'll just see how the fabric goes that I choose, and if it's can be stitched, I will. If it's, not worth the effort, I'm just going to tack it with this glue. It's not holding real well because I'm moving the fabric. I'm going to go back the other way. That's better. just needs to be pressed gently. Okay, so that'll dry. And now we've got a little hem and stuff all over my fingers. So the next thing would be to, well, I guess let it dry before we manhandle it. What I might do is I might run a little top stitch. That would have worked. I'm sure you dressmakers out there would have gone, just make the stitch obvious, Corrine. So if you're not into the glue and you did want to stitch it, just do a little running stitch as a feature. Especially if I got a stranded cotton, maybe 2 strands, maybe 1, and then just did a little running stitch around. That would look cool and that would work. Why didn't I think of that? Who knows? Look at this. This is nearly a lamppost, a lampshade, but too big. All right. So Miss Mousie, that will fit beautifully. The thing next is to get in under those arms of hers and work out from the hemline of where you want your fabric trimmed. Like I said, I'm not going to hem the top. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Because what I'm going to do for the top of her dress, I had a lace overlay. I do like that lace overlay effect. Maybe I just make this a little skirt. Turn it the right way. Let's give it a go. Let's hem it. Instead of having a raw edge, let's do it nice and neat. And I'm going to do a top stitch this time. And then that top stitch can be the thread of which we draw it in. I should really let that hem settle and dry. Maybe I do that. I'm getting a bit ahead here. It's just typical. You just want to put it together, don't you? Meanwhile, everything comes adrift. All right, so it's turned over, it's pressed. I'm going to put this video on pause. I'm going to just cool my heels a little. I'm going to run a gathering stitch around that edge, and then I can sort of cinch it in. But before I do, I need that glue to dry. And then what I might do is find a cotton and run a little top stitch around that just as a little feature, and that'll match the skirt. But I think you got the general gist anyway. So once that's cinched in, it will fit on her little body. All right, then I've got to one side here just a piece of crocheted lace. And I thought maybe there's potential that I could use this to get a bodice for her. But it might not be the right size. See, there's this shape here. And then I thought, well, maybe that could go as an armhole like that. And I trim it off. It's summertime in the mouse house. See, I could put some ribbon on the back here that would bring it in. Her little skirt would slide underneath. I don't know. That's just a suggestion at the moment, just an idea. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let all this dry and I'll come back in an hour or so and we'll fiddle some more. I might be able to find some more lace too that is suitable. All right, be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. So my hemline is dry. I haven't top stitched it yet. What I've done is threaded up my cotton. I've put, oh my goodness, everyone's pinging me at the moment. I put 2 little stitches in there to really secure it. A knot's just not good enough when you go to gather, so I put a couple little stitches. Now I'm just doing a little running stitch around that edge to gather it in. I was thinking about her bodice too. I might try and make a little bib at the front. Oh my goodness. All right. It's my social life, it would seem. It's my friend. I just sent him the address to the place, so he's right. I think I've got some frozen pumpkin scones in the fridge, in the freezer. Okay, we're back to the front and, well, where I started, which is the back seam of her little dress. So now I can cinch it in. And what I'll do is I'll cinch it all the way in first and then ease it out when it comes time to actually attach it to her, and that's when I put those securing stitches in, but at least get it into its shape. Now, unfortunately, I have inadvertently stitched all of this to her except for her petticoat. So we're going to have to just manipulate it a little bit. Put that up there. I've still got my needle attached. We should be able to slide her in, bring it up past her little tummy, and then gather it with a little gentle persuasion. And there we go. She's got her little dress, her little party dress. Beautiful. So what I'm thinking for her front is maybe making a little tabby type section. Just thinking out aloud here. Let's go back to our fabric. What if I could get that on her front? Then I can always do shoulders and things like that. It'd be only tiny because that's like literally tiny. Or do I use that lace? See this lace here? That bit there. Oh, look at that little flower. Oh, that's what we're going to do. We've got an edge. I just cut it like that. I love it when there's a seam. We don't have to go to the degree of difficulty when there's a seam. So it'd be only narrow. Oh gosh, you could spend hours fiddling with all this. You could probably hear Gaz in the background. He's making a drink for breakfast. So if that now fit in there, I think it needs to be narrower. I don't know if we'll get that little flower actually. If that went in as close as I can, yeah, that would work. I might use a bit of glue. And then we fit that to her little dress. So we're folding all the raw edges in like so, which is giving us a panel. And I suspect I will get 2 pieces out of this. Let's make it even, Corrine. And it needs to dry as well. So what I've done is I've folded the raw edges in, and I think we could stitch that there. It'll depend on her chest. Does that make sense? See that there? You might not yeah, you might not want that right up. I think I want it down a little bit to there. And then I can bring over the shoulder straps. I think the little skirt will cover the little flower, but I'm okay with that because I love that little top. And then maybe on the back, I can flip the scrap and do that on her back. Oh, I like it even on her chest. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this and attach it. But I do need that to dry. But I think I will lose a little flower, but we'll see how we go. Then the straps over the shoulders will be the same principle that I showed you there. Just using some of the fabric, and we would have a little mousy dress. Oh, I love it. All right, guys, I'm going to just let things dry here and I'll be back. Hello, I'm back. Okay, it's later in the afternoon. We had our friend over for morning tea and I've been stitching. Well, not on the skirt, on Miss Molly. Miss Skeeter complained that I kept lifting her skirt up on national TV. So I thought after lunch, I just sat and stitched Miss Molly, and she will be the one that'll get this little outfit. So I've also used the heat of the iron to get rid of all the black pen. So we're pretty much right to bring the dress in around Miss Molly's tummy and work out what we're going to do with the rest of the design. So let's do that next. There she is. Oh, what a swishy little dress. Oh, it's so sweet. It's adorable. So what I'm going to do is just pop a couple little stitches there just to secure the gathering. I don't make it too tight because I still want to fit her little bodice. So, and it's not going to go anywhere. She's got a little tummy. So you'd have to squeeze the tummy in under there to get, you know, it past her little bottom. So let's just a couple little stitches to secure that gathering. Now, let's have a look at the rest of the dress. I might detach that. Actually, let's make some decisions. If this is her bodice, it's a shame not to get that little flower. It's just not in the right spot. And if that's the case, let's see, this is what I did with the other little one, is I made the lace just tuck in under. Crochet hook's probably not the best thing to use because it's pulling threads on the mouse's body. Fiddly. It's getting my fat fingers in there. That edge is too good not to use on the top of her. Like that. She only needs just that little bit. And then I'll bring straps over the shoulder. So I will use that. There's a fair bit of that little thing left. So I'm wondering if I snip it there, just at those little lines. It's a shame about the stitching, but that's all right. I'd rather have a nice neat edge at the front of her little torso. So if that gets slip stitched into position, that little piece, which I'll do in a moment, we probably don't even need a piece at the back because we'll bring the straps over. yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I'll just do one more little fastening knot. Now, if you want to take your clothes on and off your little mice, of course, you could go to the extent of buttons and snaps and hooks and eyes and all that. I'm not going to do that. If I had kids playing with it, maybe, but even then, I'd probably encourage storytelling and maybe just have a couple of mice that could have their clothes changed. So let's just sneak our needle. This is where it's a bit tricky to not catch the mouse's body, which is what happened with Miss Skeeter. Whoops. But it's up to you. You can take it off, stitch it all, place it on. But I'm going to make it more difficult than probably what it needs to be. I'll try and sneak my stitches in there. Just catching that fold. Don't want them to be too obvious. It's not weight bearing, the bodice, it's purely decorative. I'm just sneaking, come on, I'm sneaking my needle in that embroidery, little crochet edge. So yeah, when you do go hunting for textiles to use, have a look at things that have little edges, trims. My little mouse here, Miss Molly, is missing her tail yet. I was keen to get this video finished so that I can get it uploaded. Hey, Fudgy. There we go. Just a little stitch from behind. Yeah, pussy puss. Fudgy's waking from his midday nap. Of course, you come in here and start talking. That's what gets the cat up. So that's secured. It's as simple as that. Little gathered skirt. Cut it with that curved bottom and it'll just sit nicely. I can muck around with the gathers later because they're a little bit uneven, but that's all right. Can soften that a little. Now her strap's over her shoulder. It's just a case of getting some fabric, hey pussy, or some lace, maybe some lace. Just looking at that edge in there. Be a shame to cut that. I could make, I do like the look of actually that. I wonder if we can pull that off. See the embroidery? Hey Fudgy. If I come out a few mil from the crocheted edge and we trim a piece of that. Let's go right through. That shouldn't fray because this fabric is so densely woven, a very high thread count. So even that would make a little shoulder strap. But I think we could do this. Future shoulder straps here, Fudge. He's coming up. Here he comes. And what I do, find the right side and just stitch that there, take it across and down to her little shirt. We could even go in behind with the stitch, could come across her back, like there's a few options there. definitely across and then back over to there. So once again, if this little dress was not on the mouse, it would be a lot easier. The other thing I'm going to do is downgrade my needle to a really fine one. That was a bit of a crowbar. You'd only need a couple little stitches. It's very fiddly, and I'm probably making it fiddlier than I need to. But isn't that the way? Could I tuck that in? No, put it behind. Sorry, Miss Molly. Yep. So we're knotted. Got our thread. Fudgy. We've got plenty of it, so I'm going to be generous at the back there. No use being skimpy. There's plenty of decorative strap there. Where I've folded the fabric where my thumb is pinching, I'll probably scoot along there with a couple stitches too, just to hold that close, like it's not going anywhere because of the glue. But what I might do, all in one motion, let's think efficiently here, is sneak across there now with a little hem stitch or ladder stitch or slippy overcast stitch, whatever you want to call the stitch, to get there. Tuck that raw edge down. That's going to bring me over here, ready to catch this side of her little dress. Bear with me. I'm trying to do it all in one hit. Then we can trim it when we're ready around the back. Okay. Meow. He's like, stop fiddling with those mice. I'm sure Skeeter would not be happy knowing that he was walking around the table while Miss Molly was getting her dress fitted. This is the trickiest part, the fitting of it, making it look like it's meant to be. So now I can actually get in behind there. We're nice and secured. There's a funny little piece hanging there. Let's get rid of that. And get ourselves a few extra stitches. So I'm not quite ready to work on the house yet. We're working our way up to it. I'm sort of just gathering materials at the moment. So when we finish here, I'll show you what I've gathered so far in my thought process. And I still want to ponder on it a little bit. It's a big decision. I don't want to rush it. I just want to work a few ideas out in my head first. And in the meantime, my next video will be actually camping, because I think you'll be seeing this video, and then the following week I'm off camping at a friend's property. We're going with some mutual friends and we're going to have a beer for Dad. So he was very close friends with the gentleman that owns the farm, and Mum was with his wife as well. So we're going to catch up with them, have a bit of a girls' day in town, which is Monto. And then yeah, have a couple campfires and have a beer for Dad with his mate. We promised to do it at the funeral earlier in the year and we got cancelled because of flooding. So it's now time to try and sneak out there. We want to do it in winter too. It gets very warm in summer. We're getting too old for that. So I'm going to trim that and then bring her seam around to the back of her and then just gently tuck it in. Look, these little mice pretty much have no shoulders really to speak of. So don't try and, if you do this style of dress, don't try and follow the shoulders and get it seated. You won't. Her body's not conducive to it. But you'll be able to give the impression of straps by just sort of, just find that sweet spot and the little angle needed. So there you go. And it might be a case of they get crossed over here a little bit more to get the angle right. Pop a stitch in there and then bring it together. Yeah. Just release the tension there a little bit. That comes down. There we go. Yeah, beautiful. So what we can do is I will pop a couple quick stitches there. So as you can see, you can then go and make petticoats, the whole thing. This little dress is not secured to the little mouse, which is good. So I might crochet her a little bolero jacket as well. I like that. It's like another layer of detail, which makes them a little bit special. Using that virus pattern. I've got to make a scooter yet. My plan is to do that while camping. I've actually cut out 8 more mice and they're in a little tin with everything I need packed ready to go into the caravan. So Miss Skeeter will come along to supervise. Oh, yeah, I've got a knot. So I'm sure there'll be some adventures for Miss Skeeter as we create Scooter. I hope I can do it in the caravan. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. It'll be a daylight only activity because the lighting disappears as the sun sets, bar for, you know, artificial lighting. So I'm now just going to put a couple little stitches in there just to make sure that that's attached. I'll secure that more off camera, but at least it'll hold. So yeah, the next video won't be working on the house. It'll be working on more little mice, and Miss Skeeter is going camping. Her aunt Marianne, the crocheter in the group, she's been commissioned to make a suitcase for Miss Skeeter. We found a pattern. There's not a YouTube video, it was just a pattern she typed in. Suitcase 12 by 1:12, I believe. She found a little pattern. So she raided Skeeter's supply of threads and off she went. Oh, how adorable are you, you pretty little girl. I see these little tops and dresses come up on Marketplace where people are using tablecloths to create clothes now, and they're just so sweet, just gorgeous. So we've just made our very first, and we still have this little piece that potentially could be a bodice again somewhere else. So it's amazing. Look at you. Let's give you a little basket as well. Oh my goodness, be still my heart. All right, let's put Skeeter's petticoat back on because she's modest. Definitely have to make a petticoat for under there, and it could be a bit frilled. It's actually got more body in it than Miss Skeeter's. Fudgy. All right. Pussy. He's had dinner. He's just grizzly. Wants attention. Up you go with your petticoat slip. I'm going to dress the girl again. Make sure she's decent. There we go. Hello, little girl. Look, you've got a friend. Oh, she's stolen your basket. Already there's trouble. So need to make a little bolero jacket to go on the back. Oh my goodness, how sweet. Oh, it's only the beginning. All right, well, let's head over to the house because I believe Skeeter wants to give you a bit of a rundown on some ideas we've got over there. And I believe she's not happy with my suggestions. So heaven forbid that, you know, the mouse doesn't get her own way. All right, let's pause the video and I'll be back. Hi everyone, I'm back. And Molly, welcome to my house. I love your dress. Oh, that looks really sweet. So, let me fill you in on what's happening with the decor. In front of me are paddle pops. Mum has spent considerable amount of time snipping off the ends of the paddle pops so the rounded ends are gone. She has then used this Tim Holtz Distressed Ink Walnut Stain. What can I say? Yeah, look, they look like floorboards. They're not too bad, but I just don't know. So I'm thinking about them. I'd prefer something a bit fancier, but, you know, they're not bad. Now, I've given Mum a pointer so that when I talk to you guys, she can point to things because I'm having trouble pointing to things. So, walnut stained edged paddle pop sticks. Here is the ink that Mum used, just a little one, and she pretty much used it to move along the edge of the paddle pop stick to create a bit of a, I guess, distressed floorboard look. Her plan is to glue them all down with PVA glue and create the floor. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It can lay there for now until I decide what I'm going to do. Now, if you have a glance out onto the patio over here, that is scrapbook paper. And behind me is more scrapbook paper. And below me is some more as well. Mum went through a stash and pulled out some stamp period papers that sort of suit my look, my aesthetic that I like. So she's leaned them up for me to have a think about. Molly and I'll have a good look around and make some decisions. I've got some textiles here. I'm picturing these as a mattress with a sheet on my future bed. So they're just sitting there for now. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye. Molly and I have got things to do. We want to have a good look around the house. I want to give her the guided tour. I'll hand you back to Mum and she's going to show you some other things that we could use on my walls and floor. I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. All right, goodbye guys, bye. Okay, I'm back. It's Corrine here. I have to introduce myself at the beginning of every video so I too don't get confused over who's actually talking to you. So this last little bit of the video is all my thoughts concerning decorating my house. Now, as you saw from Skeeter and Molly's section of video, I've stood into the background just some pieces of scrapbook paper that caught my eye when I was pulling them all out of the cupboard. Here comes the fudge. Right, he's up. He's going to walk through everything. So the smaller pieces that were up behind Molly and Skeeter, oh, I can't believe I've got names for these things. I'm going to have to try and remember, is this little paper. Now, I've had it a while and I've made things from it. So I only had a few pages actually left. And I just felt that they were so, I guess, classic French chateau. And I was absolutely, Pussycat's got to go. I was absolutely thrilled when I saw all of these little bits and bobs, because I can cut those out and maybe make some wall art. So that was a bit of a bonus. There's even a little clock, which I thought was very, very cool. So that's the Semperia Princess, and it's the, oh, that cat again, Fudgy. 8 by 8. So that might even be big enough for your mouse house, 8 by 8. If you've got a slightly bigger one or bigger areas, you may need to look into the bigger pads. Now, where's the one that was underneath all this? I've lost one of the, what do I do with it? It's called Grand Hotel, and here comes the cat again. Oh my goodness fudge. I might have been looking it up on the internet. I wanted to see if it was still available, so it's probably over near my couch. It's called Grand Hotel. It too is a Semperia pack. I might just pause and go and grab it. Okay, got it. It was actually standing in the back of the little house. So I'll just show you the artwork for it. It'll be on one of these pages. That was another one that caught my eye. I haven't checked the availability of these except for this one, the Grand Hotel. That's my favourite. I've made many projects from this. So I'm going to say that most of my papers will come from this, and then I will pull in others accordingly. As you can see, the colour palette is just gorgeous. Look at that. That'd be great on a floor. So that's where I'm at with the papers. Oh, that cat. He's just walking over everything. So have a little think about that if you want some pre-printed wallpaper style, elements for your house. Now I plan to apply anything that I select with the blue stick stamp, Study Mate, available at Woolworths, Officeworks in Australia. I just find that they work an absolute treat. An additional one that I picked up, because as I was going through the stash, I found the Tim Holtz one, and I thought I'll just pull it out because I like the idea of a bit of advertising. And now I'm sort of going off the brief a little bit, but I started thinking about French advertising, and I thought, you know what, I could do all sorts of things, even with music. So that's to one side. And then I found some smaller little packs that had some bits and bobs in it. So maybe the front of counters, because I'm doing a retail outlet, maybe things like that could be applied to the front of counters just to dress them up. There's some great blues here and pinks. 2 of them I picked out of here will work on the ground area of the patio. I think I pointed to that with Skeeter, and that one. So look, I'm sure you guys could track something down, but just keep in mind the small print, I think, is key to it. Some other ideas I had, the music. So I went back through my printables and I found some pre-printed ephemera pieces from my journaling days. So I found a music. Oh, here comes the cat again. Fudge. He's had a feed and he's had a sleep, and now he's really active. So I grabbed one of those pages. This is an actual music book, which I thought might be nice. Then I had some paper that was printed to look old, so I grabbed a couple of those. And then of course I had some Parisian dyed paper that I did to make journal pages. So I've got those put aside. So some plain paper, some music paper, some paper from the scrapbook world. Then I started thinking about French things. Now I'd picked up 3 little French books. Not that one, that's a dictionary. That one, the other one's in there. These were just little pages I would insert into journals. So I like the size of them, the font. So I'm thinking some of these could be added. And mice tend to take newspapers into their abode. So I really think that that would look rather cute. And I happen to have some French paper. This is just a printable ephemera. This one's My Porch Prints. Just for a bit of script that's not really illegible, but it's there. So that might be a way to go. If you don't have, you know, access to some French antique papers, you could go on to Etsy and, you know, find yourself some French antique digitals and then print them out onto some paper that's tea dyed. Here goes the cat back down on the floor. Just got to help him. So that was another idea. This is just an old English book. So that's got potential. So that's my old papers or look like old paper pile. Now I also found this. I thought this had potential. It's burlap that's quite starched. And I got it in a pack of so many pages. Don't know where I got it. You'd have to do your own research on that. But I thought that might make great rugs to lay down on the floor, and I can cut them to size. So I've pulled that out as well. Making a hang of a mess around this mouse house, let me tell you. So that's sitting there. I don't think I'll use that music book because I think I could put that away because I think I got enough. And that's just beautiful. Oh, absolutely beautiful. I picked that up at a vintage fair at Caboolture. This is another thing that I haven't used a lot of. It is recyclable handmade paper. I bought it on Etsy. I had planned to put it in my journals, but I thought it'd be good for a page, and when I folded it, it would crack. So the only place I could use them is just a backing, you know, like a background or something. And I sort of lost interest in a little bit. So it's been sitting in the cupboard. So I thought maybe there's an opportunity to use some of these as even pieces against the wall or balustrading, things like that. So that's there as well. Then the other idea, I just wanted to show you my box from the retreat to show you how well this glue attaches. So I think that's a great solution, is getting a good glue stick. Hopefully you can get one near you and use that to easily apply, because we can, you know, add it to the paper, which has been cut and torn down to size, and then take it to the dollhouse and just attach it. Otherwise you're messing with PVA glue. If you add too much, not enough, yeah, it just doesn't work. The paddle pops, that's all I did, was just cut the ends off. It was really easy with my floristry scissors. And then this has been in the cupboard forever and it still had ink. I just gave it a very light touch. I'm still a bit of a fan of that. I wasn't last night when I did it. I sort of looked at it and went, oh, that's just so much work. But I was very tired. I'd been crocheting all day, that tiny, tiny shawl. And I think I was just weary. But I've looked at it this morning with the paper leaning against the wall. And I really do like it. And even with those textiles lying there and the mice, it's, I don't know, starting to come alive, and I guess gives a different surface other than just putting paper down. The stairs, let me grab. What I thought I might do with the stairs is that's where I'll use the vintage paper. So, without thinking too hard about it, that could be glued on the stairs, and then it finds its way down, and then another piece. And then I'd probably come back like in Mouse Mansion and put a piece of textile down the stairs, or a trim. So let's say that that's glued onto there and onto there. Then come back with a piece of textiles, probably a little narrower than that. and that could be the runner that would go down the stairs. So that's what I'm planning to do with the steps. Definitely the French text will be on the steps. Now, what else did I have here to show you? Oh, one last thing. When I was watching one of Rachel's videos, it was a Friday video where she was chatting about her challenges with her Etsy store and the changes coming in the shipping process and taxes and things like that. So in that video, she was having a think about using her dollhouse. Now, I'm showing you this way after that video, so I'm just not sure if she's going to do that or not, but she was having to think about it. And she mentioned Anne Kelly, which just shot my mind to, yes, that's definite inspiration. So after watching her video, and I was in the process of filming this video, so I watched it this morning. Here's the two Anne Kelly books I've got. And this one would have to be my favourite. As you can see, it's just, I've got little tags everywhere. It's the only book in my whole collection. Oh, maybe there's one other that has little tags everywhere of, oh, I love that, I love that. And I recently did, well, it's probably 6 months ago, I did the Anne Kelly online course, and she talked us through the process of building a collaged effect in her style, which is pretty much what we do, but Anne uses a lot of free motion embroidery. So in the course we sketched and we stitched and created our piece. I haven't finished mine yet. It's technically got to go to the sewing machine and be finished, but I just haven't had time. And I seriously think I'd like to hand sew it, which is more me than Anne's style. As you can see from Anne's books there, there's just so much sewing machine work and then stitching, and it's layers and layers and layers, which is hours and hours and hours. Anyway, I'm digressing here a bit. In the back, I found a picture to show you. Look, see the house? So in the other book, there's a couple more examples, but this is the inspiration that Rachel was talking about. Now, Anne has used all sorts of things to clad her houses right through to doilies and trims. So I just wanted to show you that. That's the book. There is so much inspiration in here. Oh, it's just beautiful. This one has a couple houses in it. Let me just find them. Where are they? She's so clever, and she's got such a unique style. Just there's Anne. She was so good in her online course. I think it was hosted by Fibre Arts Take 2. I believe they're about to launch either the same course again or it's a new one. I haven't clicked on the email to see what they're up to. So look, I tell you, it's like the stars have aligned. That Mouse Mansion's been rattling around in the back of my head, and then to drag it into the world of slow stitching what we do, Anne's already there. Like, just beautiful. And she's used a lot of trims. That's where I was heading with the trims, because it started making me think about the front edge of my house. You see that edge, my white melamine? So I haven't yet pulled trims out of my stash. That's another day. I do not need to create another mess on my table here. But I thought I'd show you guys. My guess is this is what Rachel had in the back of her mind for her little house. Whether she does it or not, well, I guess we'll know probably by the time you watch this video. But thanks, Rachel. You sort of helped connect the dots for me. I was subtly heading in that direction without really realising, but, you know, I have looked through these books so many times that, you know, it just all came together for me. So if you did want to invest in some Anne books, Can Do books, I believe still have these. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to leave you be now. The next mouse video will be Skeeter heading off on a camping trip. And she's got a tin full of little mousy bits to do some mouse stitching. And I'm sure I will be doing some more crocheting to make, you know, some little accessories for the mouse house and the mice. All right, guys, look after yourselves. And I guess when we come back from the camping video, we will start working on our house. All right, look after yourselves. Bye for now. Oh, sorry. I was just getting my photo ready for the thumbnail, and I forgot to tell you about this one. You may have seen the brand in the video anyway, Kaiser Craft. They're in Australia. They have a website, and this one here is also one of my favourites. Used heaps of it. Many journals made out of this, and there was one in particular paper. Like, look at that. It's got a real wallpaper feel, so maybe in Skeeter's bedroom. I don't know how I'm going to fit it all in the house. I definitely think I need to do extra layers, which means engineering floorboards. Okay, that's another day problem. All right, guys, see you soon.